There was a phrase I came across on the internet some time ago. I can't remember who said it, but we'll try and find out. And the phrase was the Shimmering Database. Shimmering Database. Which I really like that phrase. I like it for all sorts of reasons. Partly because it makes an appeal to the bureaucrat in me, I suppose. I used to work for the civil service many years ago. And I think I've still got a bit of a civil servant going on somewhere that likes the idea of organised, systematic Microsoft-type knowledge. So I like the idea of a database. But it's a database that's shimmering. It's sort of catching the sunlight and moving under the gaze and forming refractive and reflective patterns, those kind of things. And I can't honestly remember what the original context of the phrase shimmering database was, but what I like, what I'm taking from it, how I'm using it internally, if you like, is as a kind of metaphor for, you know, the stuff around me, the universe, the world, all the information that I'm surrounded by. Because everything I'm looking at, these trees and this path and these dogs, has, you know, millions of, thousands of elements of data in it. Okay, I'm just picking up on the shimmering database. I had to break off there because my dog stopped to fight with another dog. A dog called Max, which is behind us right now, so I think it'll be alright. Okay, so I like this idea of the shimmering database, because what it represents is a sort of an understanding of the world, metaphorical understanding of the world, in which every object, every entity, every event, every phenomenon is composed of thousands of pieces of data. So the tree or the leaf on the tree is composed of thousands of pieces of data to do with, you know, the wavelength of light it reflects, or the placement of atoms and molecules within its structure, or information about the flow of liquids through the tubules in the leaf structure, information to do with its evolutionary history, to do with what insects feed upon it. Thousands and thousands of pieces of data, which every single object and entity around us is associated with, much like entries in the database. So, in some kind of ideal Leibnizian world, I guess, it would be in theory possible to capture, let's say, every element of data in the world and record them in some sort of beautiful database. But of course that's not our experience of it, certainly not my experience of it. So in a sense, what I'm doing, at least the way I'm interpreting it right now, what I'm doing as I walk along the salt line here with my dogs, is that on a moment-to-moment basis, I'm constantly interrogating this database using certain search functions associated with my embodiment and the evolutionary history of that embodiment and the social and cultural history of that embodiment. So when I look at the leaf and the tree, I don't see those sap-carrying microtubules, if that's what they are. I don't see its attractiveness to insects. I don't see any of those things. I see what I see, which is greenness, as we call it, or the shape of the leaf, or other aspects of that database, other properties, other elements of data emerging from that, which are appropriate to the search terms that I'm applying to it. So in a sense, my whole surroundings are kind of search results, a table of search results. What I like about that, and I know it sounds a bit sterile really, but what I like about it is that it implies a whole different set of search results if I was to have different instrumentation, different motivation, different problems which I was trying to respond to. And also just it gives a sense of the totality of this database, which shimmers in that sense, in the sense that it keeps appearing before me. I'm using visual metaphors here, of course, but it does appear before me visually and in every other sensorial way, in a way that's constantly changing as I move through this database, as my search keeps repeating itself, as my search keeps being modified, as my needs change and shift. And so the whole database is just kind of shimmering in front of me. What I'm reminded of here, again, this has nothing directly to do with the database, is a really lovely little essay that William James wrote, probably over 100 years ago now, I guess, called The World of Sculpture. And he wasn't using any of the same metaphors. But what he was talking about was, I think what we would now call the binding problem, which is that as we move through experience, we only select quite a small aspect of, not the vast amount of data that's available, but only a small set of data elements that we're exposed to. So whilst I'm walking along this path, I'm aware of the path, but my attention is not drawn in any meaningful sense to the trees that are in the periphery of my vision. Most of the sounds that are available to me, I'm not listening to. They're available, but I'm not attending to them, apart from this noisy machine that's on top of the bridge here. And so in a sense, as James would put it, I'm sculpting the world by selecting salient, cogent aspects of it and building an ongoing stream of consciousness, an ongoing stream of phenomenal experience through that sculpting act, through that kind of religious act, I sometimes think of it. And I'm trying to recover the word religious simply to mean binding. So I think there's that. I think it also comes up in a slightly less developed form in Robert Anton Wilson's writing. He talks about reality tunnels, doesn't he? In which there's a kind of political, ideological dimension to that sculpting process. That we walk through the world and we select elements of it which accord with our particular existential position perhaps on the world. So if we have a tendency to see the world as a kind of insectoid nightmare, then the elements that we'll pluck out of that database are the ones which correspond to that, and which we can build a coherent nightmarish reality to walk through. Conversely, if we have a slightly more sunny disposition, which I think probably I have, at least my wife tells me so, then we make a different set of selections, a different set of interrogations upon that shimmering database, which pull out and accentuate positive, if you like. But of course, both positive and negative, and the terms which set those values in place, are all present in the database. It's just a selection process in this model. And by implication, other people could be interrogating the same database and finding a completely different set of sculptural realities.